I just listened to the lecture of yourselves and was wondering so much about those killer questions you were giving us and sharing with us, putting on your hat of business consultant. And then it appeared to me that you have two hats. So what are they?
I have two hats. Today I was wearing my business consultant hat. The other hat I have is, what would you call it, a writing hat, a philosophical hat. And this reflects two parts of my career, because I began as a fellow of an Oxford college teaching literature and philosophy and psychoanalysis. And then I went into business as a management consultant. And what I've tried to do is keep both interests going. So I'm a two-hat wearer. I put a double hat.
Yeah. And so are they so different? Or is it something you just jointly use in your business consultancy from your philosophical and maybe that psychoanalytical background?
When I first began in business, I used to keep them very separate. But increasingly, I'm bringing them together because there's some obvious overlaps between the two. I mean, a business has a psychology in the same way that a human being, an individual, has. So, and the field of business psychology is well established. So, you know, for me, it's okay to bring those two things together again now. But I think the real connection between the two is not in the content of what I'll say. So, when I'm in a business meeting, I won't be talking about Hegel or Schopenhauer or Shakespeare, not usually anyway. But having had something of a philosophical training, I suppose what I've learned is to reframe questions, restructure thoughts, so that you can come at questions from different angles. So it's not philosophy of business, but it's thinking about business in a way that somebody philosophically would do just by virtue of asking different questions or, you know, framing things in a different way.
But these frames you are referring to, for me they sounded, may I share my impression?
Yeah, please do.
Like a search for mature organization. What is a healthy organization?
Yes.
What is mature organization?
Yeah.
And when you said that, okay, strategy is something needed for organization, but it's only rational part of it, and irrational or unconscious part of organization is something which may be explored with the help of these questions you're asking.
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, there is a notion that businesses can be subject to science, and there is a thing called management science.
Exactly so.
And of course, you know, here we are at a University of Management and Economics. This says that whatever business is, it's understandable through the lens of science. And of course, you know, 50% of business is understandable through the lens of science, and that translates into strategy. What I'm saying is that that is only half the story, and that the reality of businesses is not catered for by strategy, because the reason that businesses fail isn't because they have a bad strategy, usually. Sometimes it is. But usually it's for very human reasons, like, you know, they've run out of energy, the leaders are too vain to heed advice, they don't treat their customers like human beings, and so on. So these are very ordinary things in a way, but the emphasis on science in business sometimes blinds us from the reality.
From the business reality.
Yeah.
And from all sides of reality.
Exactly.
Sometimes confusing, sometimes really not recognizable. But again, I agree with you that yes, scientific approach is not the only one, and I am a strong supporter of concept of organizational culture, and as well support that expression that sometimes, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast, as people sometimes say. And so inside those cultural things you have mentioned, view, kind of structures which maybe are not helping for the company to be fully reflective or self-aware. As well, that was your note, that business is seldom self-aware, and that self-awareness is something what is needed. Awareness about what? What are then the key moments to be aware of? What would you say?
Well, transitions are key moments. So the most obvious transition is the beginning. When the company goes from not existing to existing. It's like birth.
Exactly.
It's a big moment. And the conditions that are in place at the beginning of a business's life often have a disproportionate effect on how it will succeed or not succeed. But a lot of businesses forget about that, or they exaggerate it. So I've known businesses which talk a lot about the founder.
The mythology of father founder. Yes.
The mythology of the father founder. And there's a balance to be struck there, because if you ignore the founder, it can come back and haunt you. But if you overpraise the founder, it can stop growth. It's like a strong father.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and yet it's hard for conversations to have that sort of, hard for businesses to have that sort of conversation, because it's not acceptable business speak. But it is decisive, it can be decisive. So that's a key transition. Another transition might be an acquisition. That's a key moment at which a business changes. And how an acquisition is handled can have a very serious positive or negative impact. So I recently been doing some work with a firm, a British firm that's bought an Israeli firm. And this acquisition is going pretty well. But the reason it's going well is that their previous acquisition did not go well.
And so they've learned the lesson.
And they've learned their lesson. But it's going back at that transition point and understanding what it was that they... The danger in their case is that they will overcompensate, because they made some errors in the past that they're so keen not to repeat, that it is stopping them from completely appreciating what's new about the new situation. So these are simple facts, but they just often don't get aired or spoken about. And again, the strategy to buy a business is fine.
One of the strategies.
Absolutely right. This firm should be buying this Israeli firm. The Israeli firm wants to be bought, the British firm wants to buy, they've got compatible products. There's no question. But that's not difficult. It's kind of, I don't want to denigrate strategy, but it's sort of obvious. The question then comes, all right, how are we going to handle it? And that's the reality that they're dealing with.
The reality of change in the company, of transitions, as you say, and being in good combination of rational strategies and as well some irrational realities of the company.
And it's also important for customers as well. Customers need to know that this acquisition is not going to alter what they value in their relationship.
Like you mentioned, who will cry when your company will die? Who will cry for you? Which customers? Will they cry at all when your business dies? So it's about one of the concerns.
Yes. I mean, one of my questions is, are your customers human?
As well, yes.
For me, this is a very important question to ask, because a lot of businesses behave as though, they're statistics, or they forget that there are real people who are just like them buying their stuff. It's quite an important question to ask.
Still to be connected to. Hear the voice. Some other realities of the internal organization's life, which you have mentioned, and maybe just we may touch a little bit, was kind of a strive for perfection, to be performing all the time, and all the time is one of that irrational behaviors to wish to expect for 100% performance.
I mean, I think it varies in types of business. I mean, there are some businesses which are, mechanistic, factory-based businesses, which are, based on, kind of Fordism, our Taylorism, this idea that productivity is entirely possible. And of course, the more mechanistic an organization and its business, the more productivity is applicable. It's very hard to translate that directly into a service business because, the units for sale are emotions, or they are feelings, or they're more intangible than products. And the question of productivity therefore changes in some way, so take an example. When you check into a hotel, okay, sometimes, some hotels, the receptionist will give you a kind of plastic smile. Hello, welcome to our hotel. They'll give you the spiel, sign this, sign that, and you feel like you're being processed through, okay? And the receptionist is being productive. She's 100% productive. She's doing her job.
There's no human touch.
There's no human touch. But if I go along to the same hotel and there's a different woman working there, and she says to me, hello, look, I'm sorry, I'm really tired today, but I'll do my best for you. And she makes a mistake on my booking form and then says, I'm really sorry. You know what? I actually feel better about staying at that hotel, even with the mistake, because the quality of human contact has been greater, and I feel better served by her, even though she's made a minor mistake. The mistake is humanizing. So I'm not advocating making mistakes in businesses, but I'm saying the question of productivity changes a lot when you move from a manufacturing to a service industry.
And then it's about industries as well, and it's about the value shift. And when you say that you prefer a human approach and value, and this way, instead of mechanistical instruction fulfilling way, you refer to the philosophy of the company inside who values that type of contact.
That's right.
And for me that says as well, and it was mentioned a bit in your lecture too, even though it's maybe the most important question, it's about the true values of the company. What are they here for? What are their businesses here for? What values do they serve in general? What are their mission, as you say?
I mean, it also depends on the brand. I mean, if I'm tired and I just want to check into a hotel quickly, I want to choose a hotel, I'll go to a hotel that's branded like that. That's fine. But if I check into a boutique hotel, I expect
expectation is
exactly.
different.
So there's another element to that. But you're right. I mean, it is about the degree to which the values in the business become manifest, and how that makes you feel as a customer.
Throughout, and to the customer as well, and to the people in organization, to employees too, in a way. And that question of employees bring to my memory then that paranoial metaphor, that who is the spy inside? What about the spies then? And the healthy, mature organization have different approach, like resource approach, like respect to, not to the customers only that human, but to the employees of the company too, isn't it so?
Yeah, and I think that is becoming more so because with the internet, the dividing line between customers and employees is changing, because employees can find out a lot about their business online, just as customers can. So, the boundary between the two is not what it once was. And businesses are in the public eye more and more. I mean, that may not be a good thing, but they are. We talk a lot about transparency in businesses.
Yes.
Incidentally, I don't think transparency is the answer to everything, because transparency is also the enemy of privacy, and can be the enemy of confidentiality. It can be the enemy of creativity as well. So, transparency isn't necessarily the answer, but we are in a much more transparent world, and businesses can't hide as much as they used to.
And that maybe shapes the way of communication and transactions too. Like you have mentioned, the expectations and the transparent listing of the companies where the customer is fully aware where he's on the list. And you then negotiate to him quite transparently as well on the commercial side of the business.
Exactly.
This kind of approach which maybe used to be considered as cynical, if I pronounce the word. And well, yes, I agree as well that it is more and more acceptable as a change in the business culture, in a way, from that point of view.
Yes, and I think that's important because there's an instinct in business that says you should hide if you're in a business because you are making money. And it's interesting, David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, has given a speech, I think it was today or yesterday, saying that British people have got too down on business. And they're forgetting that business is a source of enterprise and wealth creation. And especially in the light of scandals about bankers' bonuses, there's a lot of opprobrium about. And so there's this sense that if you're in a business, you need to sort of hide or not be in the public view, that there's something dirty about it. Whereas, business is just life. It's a part of everyday, it's how things are done. And to do things in a normal way, out in the open, is fine. It's fine. It's the need for transparency is a symptom of the fact that things have been hidden. It's a compensation. But there's a halfway point between hiding and transparency, which is just being normal.
And just to return back a little bit to that concept of healthy and mature organization, which is normal business approach.
Yeah.
How to say, understanding all imperfect, that we are not perfect and not neither business is perfect, but that we're striving for having basic values for that ethical and running business in that healthy way. How would you describe then that mature, healthy organization? What would it be for you? Healthy, mature organization. Business.
Yeah. Well, in a way, they are businesses that know who they are. I mean, it's this self-awareness point, really. I mean, so much business literature, so many business books are all about change. And all about, you must do this, you must do that, you must strive for this. And actually, a lot of the strength of certain businesses comes from being very strong in what they are and knowing who they are. I was very struck yesterday. I was watching CNN in my hotel room. And they had I think it was the chairman of British American Tobacco being interviewed. Now, the moment you say British American Tobacco,
it's tobacco industry and
exactly.
Leading number 2, maybe still.
Right, exactly. And all sorts of prejudices come with that. And you could tell that he was very used to meeting a lot of criticism, and rightly so. But there is setting aside the ethical debates, there is a real business there. I'm not defending it, I'm not for it, I'm not against it. But he knew what the business was. He knew its limits, he knew its constraints, he knew its downsides. I'm not defending it, but in a strange way, this tobacco company, which sells products that kill people, was quite a healthy, mature business, because it knew what it was doing, what its role was in the world, what the cost of that was, what the consequence of it is. I mean, there's a cost and a consequence to everything. It's just we're much more aware of the cost and consequence of selling tobacco or arms than we are of the cost and consequence of most other things. I mean, maybe there are businesses which are completely innocent. Maybe there are. I'd be surprised if there are any businesses which are entirely free of any implication of any collateral harm of any kind. So for me it was quite a striking thing, because I wanted, my initial reaction was to default to, oh, you bastard, you run a tobacco company, they are part of the axis of evil. But I tried to let myself have a different reaction, and I thought, well, it's a normal business at one level. And in fact, it's a growing business in certain markets, peculiarly.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yeah.
They're changing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not advocating it, but it's an interesting example. Because it would be very easy to cite, ethical businesses like, I don't know, British people are in love with a company called John Lewis, because it's a mutual, so it's owned by the staff and it's got a very strong brand and it's a sort of national icon. So it's very easy to cite those things. It's like, you know, when people say, who do you admire? Everybody says Nelson Mandela. It's very easy to admire these things. I'm not sure how much thought goes into that. You know, it's a sort of culturally acceptable thing to say Mandela. You know, nobody's. Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to think you're an idiot if you, you know, safe. It's safe. It's much less safe to say British American Tobacco is a healthy, mature company.
So, is it so that in your, I wonder if I'm right, but well, in your understanding, in your sharing now of what is mature company, it's a dialogue. I am as informed customer, or not necessarily customer, but as informed citizen, whatever. I am really perceiving reality as it is.
Yeah.
I see the businesses like they are, and it's mutual. If the business is sound, reason to be, and then consequences and so, and I'm tolerant to that. I don't know.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's mutual, so no one-way definition to that.
Exactly. So, you know, it's okay for a business to make a profit from it. When I buy my, you know, mineral water or whatever, that's fine. You know, you will make a profit, of course. That's right. I mean, I think there are degrees. I mean, this issue about bankers' bonuses, I think, is a real one. You know, the ratio between what people earn at the top of a bank and what people earn at the bottom of a bank is too much. But we also have to ask why that is. And, you know, it's because people change their bank accounts only once every 27 years. Okay, so we are
ourselves kind of.
We're giving them the money every day. You know, and there may be ways in which the banks are trying to disguise that fact from us. But, you know, if bankers have a lot of money, it's because we've given it to them. And we give it to them because we invest in those banks, or, excuse me, or we just have ordinary current accounts, which cost the bank almost nothing to administrate, but, you know, we will pay a few pounds, and if several million people are paying a few pounds every day,
it's a game. So yeah.
It adds up. It's very easy, but, you know, we're paying.
So is it so that when we ourselves, how to say, not only companies or businesses should be more self-aware, we ourselves as well, pretty much.
We're in a system.
Considering.
You know, we are all in a system. You know, there's a bank, there are shareholders, there are customers, there's a government. We're in the same room. There aren't different rooms. It's one system. And each part of the system affects every other part. You know, and there are strange displacement effects. But there's no innocent position there. You know.
Everybody's in the game, yeah.
All of us, we're in it. There's nobody outside it. Unions, we're all in it. So let's not pretend that there is an innocent position. There isn't, and it's good that there isn't an innocent position. You know, we're all guilty in the sense that we are in the economy, which means we are responsible. We carry things with us. You know, we're not children. We have history. We have choice. You know, we make mistakes. We bring everything into play. You know.
For me, it sounds that maybe all civilization is going on to be more mature. From your words?
Well, I don't know.
No, it's maybe too strong to say.
Yeah.
But what you said just sounded to me that the more responsible we, all the parties, are aware, the more responsible they are, the more aware they are that they are in one system.
Yeah, except I would argue with the word responsible, because if you tell people to be more responsible, it sounds like a school teacher telling a child, do your homework, comb your hair. I'm not saying it's about responsibility, or I choose a different word. I just say we're all in it. We are just in it, all of us.
Independent.
Yeah, and there's no outside of it. So, you know, a lot of anger is based on a false notion of innocence. You know, I am angry at you because I am innocent. And it's an affected innocence. So, I'm not sure responsibility is the word, but we are part of a system. We are in a system, all of us.
I went only with that acceptance that we are part of the system.
Yeah.
But we are as well the moving part of it, the creating part of it, the changing part of it.
Yes.
So, the statement that we are and some energy behind.
Yes, well that's important, and the important part of that is that, you can, if it's a question of responsibility, you can change yourself much more quickly than you can change somebody else. I can take my money out of my bank quicker than my bank is going to change.
That's true.
Right? So, go on.
But the very approach that I can change quicker, it's not very much common. If you talk to people, they will change them, and them, but not necessarily myself.
Exactly. It's because we all...
Myself.
Exactly, because it's a defense. Because innocence is so much preferable to guilt. And guilt is being part of things, and we all want to reject that. But we can't. Well, we do.
No.
But, a lot of anger is based on false innocence, really, which means pretending we don't belong.
So I hear now we had of psychologists.
Yeah,
Isn't
right.
it so?
Yes, maybe.
That's
But for me, these distinctions between philosophy, psychology, psychoanalysis, business, they're institutional differences. They're not thinking differences. They're differences in the way institutions are set up. We have an institute of management here. Yesterday, this morning I was at the Faculty of Philosophy. Institutionally, they're different.
Yeah.
But in terms of thought, we're in the same pool,
In the same pool.
I think. And thought is like that. Thought, in principle, I think is a wild child. It runs across all the boundaries. You can put boundaries around it, but I think it's like a child in Rousseau. A thought is unbounded. It just wants to wander around, and go off. Yeah.
Okay, so I believe that was that beautiful note of that childish thought, which is alive all the time, critical, challenging, killing sometimes, asking that question. I would thank you for that interview.
Thank you very much.